Good morning, all. Thank you for joining this webinar today. We sincerely appreciate your time. So today we're going to be covering embracing the shift to learning management system. So as you are all aware with what is going on globally and also in Africa and also in Nigeria in the terms of the COVID-19 and how it's affecting the learning space or the education space. We are now going to be talking about this topic, the learning management system. So the learning space presents this topic today in terms of how we can all embrace this new normal. Most of the OEMs and the big multinationals have already adopted, learning management system even before the pandemic. So they are used to it. The adoption within various organizations might not be that much, but they were used to learning management system. So I think today we would also be covering and catering for some audience in terms of the education space, and also if you are considering doing some professional training services as well, or if you just want to empower your employees, right, with the ability to continuously learn. So allow me to introduce the panel today. So we have Godia Kezi. She's a small and medium business tech entrepreneur. The reason for having Godia here is to just give an insight into her engagement with small and medium businesses and how this learning management system can enable them and how they can embrace them. So we have also Titilayo Solaru. She's the productivity solution executive for Virtual Formatics, and she will be giving some contributions as well on this topic. And then we have Kenneth Bowe, the technical project director for the learning space. So basically, these are the people that we have, and really it's just to have a normal engagement or discussion. We encourage all the panelist members, all the attendees to please start posting their questions on the Q&A section of this webinar. Again, let's just have fun and let's attempt to go into and leave with some value in terms of the discussion around embracing learning management system. We are very aware of what is going on, and if you are just joining again, welcome. We welcome you to this discussion today. So I'll be going into some presentation, right, around some of the things that is driving the conversations, right, around learning management systems, and the fact that even post COVID-19, the adoption of learning management system is encouraged to remain behind. The reason being is that this can also help the youth with literacy as well, because when some of the youths are going into university or varsity, they might not necessarily be so well equipped with computer literacy, and using the LMS learning management system continuously, I think will help for that, just to make sure we strengthen that. And some of the LMS learning management system have mobile platforms, they have a web version of their LMS, just to make the interaction, easier and user-friendly. So the conversation is changing around digital classroom. Those are the drivers. How can a teacher or a lecturer or an organization provide learning, digitally? So from anywhere. For instance, the teacher has to then travel to a function in the United States, as an example, but he has a class, as an example, that he cannot afford to miss. He could just virtually support the student from wherever he is through different delivery methodology. Centralized repository. So if you have an LMS, the trend then would then be for you to begin to consolidate your learning content in one centralized platform. So your courses, your student database, your teacher database, or your lecturer database, or your instructor databases, you can begin to consolidate your information and also begin to create your data banks, your question banks, your, where you can always go back and refer to and adjust, from a real time perspective. Also, data analytics, as you can see, as you would understand, the learning management system is driven by data, right? So that means you have course data, student data, you have quiz data, you have a lot of data that you are consolidating. However, you want to also make sense out of those data, because we are so busy that we might not necessarily be able to regularly, check all the data that is being presented to us. We need to be able to get the information that we need out of the data, right, to be able to make certain decisions, right? Also, collaborative learning. Some of the universities, for example, you have some of the online universities that provide content in US or UK or all over the world. You would notice that they have also adopted this whole idea of collaborative learning, because it's not just about lecturer or teacher to student conversation. It's conversation as well between students and between cohorts or groups and all that, to enhance and to enrich the learning experience. Also, you have massive online content delivery. So meaning also that there are content that are being driven from various sources. Like if you are doing research, you then have to go to multiple sources, to collect, content or to bring information together, especially to make what you are covering relevant. Because, for example, if you are doing a course on let's say, for example, you're doing a course on Cisco routing and switching, as an example, right? Because Cisco technology constantly changes, then you got to allow the platform to be able to adapt to the new information or new technology that are being presented to the audience. So again, also lastly on the driver is the automated decision making, right? So here, like I earlier talked about, when it comes to the data analytics, it's not just guarding the data, not just analyzing the data from a prescriptive, predictive, and prescriptive perspective. It's more for what do you do with that data? How can you make a decision? Because if a data tells you, for example, you have unhappy students, right? What decision can you then take, that is very real time to address that issue, or to address the fact that you have unhappy students? So that's where the automated decision making is coming from. When there's a trigger, do X, Y, Z. So if the student is unhappy, right? Perhaps we can use the example of reduce their school fees, or reduce their course fee. That could be fantastic. Maybe it will put a smile in their faces, but really you could then do something. Or once the student is not happy, give them a discount, as an example. So you could take decisions. My examples might be poor in terms of what I'm describing, but however, though, you could take automated action or automated decision. And I think that is the crux of it. Data analytics allows you to make decisions, but most of the common learning management systems are now catering for automated decision making, right, in the process. So I would just like to just elaborate why you need to embrace LMS, right? You need to embrace LMS because you need to continue to collaborate, like I've mentioned, create safe environment, safe and secure environment for collaboration, right? Because you don't want to, because of what is happening from a security, hacking, and all that identity manipulation or identity theft, you want to have a learning management system that can guard against all that can give the student or the participant a platform to safely collaborate, right? A platform to interact, right? Interact either in groups, blogs, wikis, forums, and all that, right? connect, make connections, because the experience that you get in a physical training or a physical classroom, right? The experience can still be brought online, even when things return back to normal, right? When all the schools are then reopened, or all the training centers, everything are all reopened. What we are saying here is that the adoption of LMS is here to stay. The adoption of learning management system is here to stay. You would see that schools and organizations would begin to combine various methodology of delivering their content. They will deliver their content verbally, right? Or they will deliver their content post the school to say, once you get home, right, do X, Y, Z, and do it before this time and that time. And because you want to keep the students, the participants engaged and focused, right? And also, the web conferencing perspective is also important, because the tool then be able to give the teacher or the lecturer or or the instructor the ability to also do web conferencing. For example, the example that I gave earlier, which is the example of a lecturer or a teacher has to travel, for example, to the United States for a conference, but still have to lecture or teach the students. What does he do in that case? Since he cannot be there physically, in the example where everything has returned back to normalcy, right? He can still deliver his lectures, through a web conferencing facility or a tool. Engage, like I say, you could, make the students or cohorts more engaged with gamification and games and all that, just to make. And these are some of the trends that we are seeing with the elements, right? Again, we spoke about analyze, right? This is another trend that we are seeing, which is how do you analyze the data that is flowing through the elements, right? How do you make sense out of it? How would you be able to help a student, right, perform better? Just by looking at their strengths, their weaknesses, and that kind of stuff. How do you enable those? How do you enable those conversations? So now, with the data that you have, once you are having a one-on-one conversation with your student or with your with your class, right, you are able to then give them valuable information to say, I see that your performance had dropped in the month of May. It increased a bit in the month of June, but it's not the way it used to be when you were in January, right? So what is happening? How can we help you? Or the student might then say, I'm having some personal issues at home. I'm having some challenges. My data, and data is another conversation, by the way, because it's another discussion on its own, because we are challenged, in Africa, in Nigeria, with infrastructure as well, and also the affordability of data as well, right? So again, a key factor of LMS that are being developed now is for low data consumption, so that students can still consume the information with low data consumption, right? Secondly, as well. We need to also look at the issue of offline as well, right? So if you don't have data, how do you then address offline? How do you still at least work on your assignment or your reading offline, and then once your internet comes back up, you upload or you synchronize the information that you would have posted offline, right? So that is the analyze is very important, because you can begin to analyze trends, and you can see from my analysis, I was able to move from just looking at performances to then addressing the real issue that the students are having, right, in terms of data and all that. And I branch off a bit, talking about data and those challenges. Now, you should be able to then share resources, right, within the students, and within the student as well. They can also share resources among themselves, right, in an organized manner. So learn. I mean, this is really the core objective. How do you learn on the go? Because most people now, for example, might not necessarily be able to afford, let's say, going to school full time, right? In this case, the use case is applicable. That means you can learn on the go. Learn when you are in your business meetings. or when you are away on a conference, learn at your own time, when you're not productive at work or off work, or even some organization might allow some time for employees to learn, right? Some companies allow that a lot because they know that once the team is continuously learning, they can add more value to their customers or to their clients, right? So learning is the crux of it. And what we're trying to say here is that when you embrace LMS, you notice that the LMS are now becoming more intuitive in terms of design, more interactive, flexible, and you can even track your progress. Let's say, for example, you can track that you are 20% as against you being at 50%, right? At the point of your assessment, right? So you could look at some of these things to basically, address this point. So why Embrace LMS continues, right? So if you are just joining, welcome, right? We are talking about embracing LMS, right? Even post COVID, or as the businesses or as schools return back to normalcy. The argument here, or the challenge here, is that LMS is here to stay. So we should embrace it now and let our students, let our employees, or anyone that anyone that is benefiting from the LMS, embrace it now, right? Because we know that it is here to stay, and we're just trying to give the reason why it is here to stay, right? Also the instructor, right, can use the LMS as well to save time on training activities, add rules, create interactive, beautiful contents, right? So that is also a reason. Also, it allows you as well to sell. So meaning that you could offer some of your courses to the public. Let's say, for example, you're a school and you have your normal student that you're charging, a normal fee to, but you can get students from external to join your classes. They might just be seasonal students, right? They will join your classes, and then they will probably just be able to buy the course that they want to take, be it maths or be it any course that they want to take. Maybe they're on holidays. That means you can extend your ability to grow revenue through other stream. Of course, your core stream might be the formal school program that you run, but your non-core could be those extra revenues coming normally, to you as an organization. So basically here, because there are several methods of delivering your trainings, you could do your instructor-led, right? Which is where a physical lecturer or a teacher is conversing with you, right? Either using video conferencing or either being physical, right? Of course, practicing all the social distancing requirement, right? Then the second one is then self-paced type learning. So that in that case, all you are then doing there is that you are allowing the participant or student to consume the content at their own time, right? And then you have blended, which is a mix of both. So those are, but you could, in this case, you could actually be selling self-paced type courses where you don't actually need an instructor. I mean, that means you are saving money. You are saving the fact that you can continue to make revenue without having an actual instructor, right? By building an interactive content that the people can consume, right? So this is the selling part, right? So that is one of the reasons why you should embrace it, because if you adopt it earlier, right? If you have adopted it earlier, then you have a probability of converting it into good revenue in probably 2 years or thereabout, depending on your marketing or your sales strategy, right? Also, access. You could do assessments, right? In terms of various assessments. So you could give quizzes. You could do a whole lot of different forms of assessment, right? Be it offline assessment, be it multiple choice, be it filling the blank, whatever type of questions that you want to assessment you want to do, you can do it with the LMS. So that's another reason for you to then adopt it, because it's not just giving people content, but it's also making sure that they can actually do something with the content, or you can actually test their knowledge post their consumption of that content. Then you can also issue certificates as well, for participation or for meeting a particular requirement or score, right? Let's say the pass mark is 80%, you define it in your assessment, and then you issue a certification automatically, or certificates automatically as soon as the participant or student meets those requirements. So also, I was talking about this intuitive interface, right? So most of the elements that you see now have this good feel, simplicity, just for people to be able to consume the information, right? And interactive, some of the elements allows you to brand your URL or brand your logo and all that kind of stuff, right? So you could also benefit from that. Then seamless integration. So another reason as well is that the LMS as well are also interacting with other third-party applications. So it brings everything to your all together. So if you have G Suite or you have M365, Microsoft 365, OneDrive, turn it in, which I believe the academic field would need the more. Those kind of things can actually be integrated, right? PayPal, a number of things. Zoom, most of the video conferencing tools can be integrated to the top LMS learning management system that you have, right? So basically, that is the reason why you need to embrace it from a third-party application perspective. So at this juncture, I would take a pause and make a humble request that you post your questions. I can see that the questions are coming in. Please post your questions, because once we get into the panelist discussion, what we'll do is that we'll mix it up with some Q&A questions, from the audience, right? So that we can attempt to answer as many questions as possible. So, so far, thank you for listening. We will now be moving into a short demo that I'll quickly give, just to, show you some of these functionalities that would make you consider embracing. And even if you have embraced LMS, right, you want to make sure that you are utilizing fully the benefits of that LMS that you have embraced, right? So through the learning space, we are able to help you, train you in your understanding of learning management systems, right, with some of the certifications that we have, right? And also with the partnership that we have, we are able to also help you deploy these LMS applications as well. So if you are interested as well, please let us know so that we can do a follow-up with you with regards to that. So allow me to just move into the demo session. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. So this is just an example of a learning management system and how the interface would naturally look. So you would notice that you have an interactive dashboard, right, where you could see your classes that are being built. You could see your students, how your participant or your students are growing. You could look at enrollment, right? You could look at the email that is being sent out of the platform as well, right? You could look at your e-commerce engagement, and you could also look at your app center, the apps that you have actually installed in the platform, right? So basically, this is usually when you come into a LMS, it's important that the LMS is able to give you an interactive feel about what you're trying to achieve from that perspective. So I will just cover a few things quickly in terms of the App Center, right? So the reason why I'm covering this App Center is just to show you that most of the good LMS systems would give you the ability to interface, right, or to integrate a number of applications, right? As you can see, we have an application here called Adaptive Learning, Classroom Catalog, Comet Chat, even compliance, right? If there's certain compliance that you need to meet within your school, you can use the compliance, API here or integration to achieve that. You could bring even gamifications, as you can see, and you could bring a lot of things, even bringing Google assignments into it as well. So a good LMS really will be open, right, to other LMS. As an example, as you guys are aware, Google also has their own learning management system, but this particular learning management system has actually integrated Google to it as well. It has integrated Google web conferencing and all that. So from that perspective, right, you can see that your integration to thousands of applications is then possible, right? Then another area that I would like to cover as well is your reporting, right? Your reporting, right? You are able to then get certain reports, right, out of the LMS as well, right? So that's also another reason why you should embrace LMS, right, or learning management system. So in this case, you could get reports around class attendance, around your user activities. You could even build your own customized reporting of the kind of information that you want to get, right, in terms of what is going on, right? So from that perspective, I think that is some of the benefits that that it brings, the LMS brings to us in terms of adoption. Also, you can also look at various web conferencing facilities that you then have. As you can see, you have GoToMeeting, you have Skype for Business, you have Zoom, WebEx, and more, even Microsoft and all that, right? It's not displaying on the screen here, but you can go and install it and integrate it right to your LMS. So making your LMS a bit robust and useful for you, right? Also resources as well. You could look at various resources in terms of materials that you will be uploading, your data bank for your classes and all that. But before we move to the panelist discussion, I would like to just highlight policies, right? Because most of us will be wondering, okay, if you are online using an LMS system, do they have policies? Can I set some restrictions that will give my organization more control in terms of my internal policy that I have, right? For example, you might have an internal policy for passwords, right? How password must be strong. You can come here and enable it or enforce it, right? To give you more control and more security. So you can do a lot of customization in terms of the policy and the things that you want to do. You could look at the administrator's policy, the teacher's policies, the student policy, the parents' policy, other policies, right, that you want to integrate. But you could also we could also look at customizing some of those policies for you as well, right? From that perspective. So these are some of the things that you could get. So the point around why embrace an LMS like this has been made, right? Because we know that whether we are currently having challenges as we currently speak, right? Whether we're currently having challenges as we currently speak, right? It is important that we know that we need to embrace technology or embrace a learning management system, because even if your challenges in your school is data, right, or connectivity, or the affordability for your students of data, you could consider various deployment methodology, right, to enable you still meet your objective and for your student to still be able to get the benefit of modern technology, right? So you could talk to us at the learning space. We could look at through our partnership, we could look at one or two scenarios for you that would still help you out with what you want to try and achieve. Even if data localization is a concern for you, right, we could look at how to deploy it for you on-prem, right, as an example. So as you can see, we have a class called Biology 101 as an example. Where I wanted to get to was just to show just a little bit about the gradebook, right? Just to see that you can start building your data, your data along the way for a particular participant or a particular student. You can see how they are faring in terms of quizzes, where they are in terms of their overall grades and all that. So the point around why embrace LMS, I believe, has been made, and we encourage that the guys on the call to support schools, to support institutions, try and move to because what we foresee happening is that people would start saying to themselves that, well, if everything has returned back to normalcy, then maybe I will not embrace learning management system. I think that is you taking yourself backwards, because as you can see, you need to allow your business to be flexible to social economical change or disasters or anything that can happen in the future. You have to be ready for it and prepared for it. So at this juncture, we would be moving to the panelist discussion. I can see that we have some Q&A questions that are already queuing up for us. We will start taking those shortly in terms of those discussions. So basically, just to recap again, we have been discussing, embracing LMS. And the reason why we came up with that, the reason why we are talking about this topic is that it's relevant as we see that by the grace of God, things will begin to return back to normalcy. So as we return back to normalcy, we must do it in a smarter way and in a more efficient way, right? So that as well, student has that flexibility. I see a possibility of parents or people wanting to take courses that are making a decision to say, well, even if the schools or universities or all that reopen, I'll still want the option to consume my information or my classes remotely. And I think that is a credible option to present, to the students, especially at this time, right? Or to the participant, especially at this time. So again, we would like to say in learning, you would teach, and in teaching, you would learn by Phil Collins, So we're here to learn from you, maybe from your questions, we're going to learn, maybe from the panelist discussion as well, we're also going to learn. So basically, we'll be moving now to the panelist discussion. And I'll be starting here with Kenneth, right? Kenneth, just to field this question, what are some of the key features of a learning management system according to your experience? I think we just want to hear from your experience perspective, and also what are your options what are the options that you would like to share around assessment and evaluation? Thank you very much, Kenneth.
Good morning, Mohammed. Good morning, my co-panelists, and good morning, all the listeners. So to quickly answer your question, if you can discover, I will answer the question in 2 weeks. So the first one is, sorry.
Okay, please go ahead, Kenneth. Thank you. Okay, while we are waiting for Kenneth, we will just move on quickly to...
Hello.
Okay, go ahead, Kenneth.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry, yeah. So to answer the question, some of the key features of the learning management system are follow. It has the ability of LMS integration. For instance, it can be able to track your data. It also personalized user experience, like the one of offline learning and trackers. Then it automated your alerts and notification. Also centralized learning materials, then flexible reporting and analytics, then remote or mobile workforce ready compliance. Now, then the question asks the two parts, or the second part is, what are my options for assessment and evaluation? Now, let's look at the way of assessment. Like we can say the tests, like quizzes, exercise given to the students, then homeworks and process, one-to-one section, and reporting. Then the evaluation, the modern LMS, what is that the platform can assist the teacher in the evaluation of our student by presenting its progress in all kind of ways, including the form of easy to gap pilots and graphs. Then the latter might sound sufficient, but it's impressive how much more easier they make sporting problem in the student performance. So it will help you to assess the student, their performance, so you can be able to know what is maybe going on, that maybe, for instance, the student performance for last week, and if you can discover from maybe the present there is a little drop off, so you can be able to meet the student and be able to see how you can improve the students. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for that, Kenneth Bowe, for that. Please, guys, please, on the call, I want to humbly request that you post your questions. I see the Q&A questions are coming in. Please continue to send in your questions. We'll try and field it in between the panelist discussion. So this question is for Godia, right? And it's just around how beneficial is a learning management system to a new school, right? So Godia, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mohammed, and good morning, everyone. Now, I am a teacher. I've always loved to teach. And when I came in contact with LMS, I was wowed. You know, I realized that it has a lot of benefits to me as a teacher. And then to a new school, you know, a school would naturally, it's a business. You would want to maximize productivity. You want to have profit. You want to have more people coming to the school. Now, these benefits of LMS would create all that for you. One of the things it does is it saves costs. Now, in a conventional school, a teacher may print out assignments, print out charts, may print out pictures and other instructional materials for the students. Now, and when teachers are being trained, materials are also bought, but with the use of learning management system, all that cost is avoided. Everything is in the app, in the learning management app, so it saves cost. You cut down cost of buying other materials. Another thing it does is that it saves time. Now, the automatic grading system that the management learning system has saves the time the teacher will use to mark, to enter results, and all that. It also stores up all your courses and assignments in a single database with the ability to tag all the material. You know, it can tag it by the school year, it can tag it by the subject, by time created, and much more. Basically, it saves the time the teacher will take to do all that work manually. And then in a conventional, we find out that sometimes you have a large number of students, and then sometimes in schools you see students, let's say in university, students hanging out around the window because the space is not enough for them. Now, the virtual class has the ability to hold a large number of students and help everyone attend the class at the same time. And in certain times, you find out that when there is a large class, the teacher has to split the class and then repeat the lesson. All that is tedious for the teacher in the conventional classroom, in the face-to-face classroom. So all this is cut down when you use, when a new school will use the LMS. Also, not all students learn at the same pace. Most times in schools, we find out that we keep the slow learner, the fast learner, the moderate learner all at the same class, and then you expect them to produce at the same way. You find out that some of the students are termed as dull students when they are not really dull, they're just slow learners. Now, in the learning management system, with the learning management system, you have room to learn at your own pace, learn at your own style, use what works for you, and hereby you maximize productivity. Also, the classroom is one. A teacher has to use the same format to pass information to every student. LMS expands the possibility by having several contact formats, like Mohammed said earlier, like presentations, we have webinars, we have videos, we have games to even help them relax. You know, the students can either use the phone or the computer and so on. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Godia, for that, and just to sharing your experiences as well. And you know, I think this will make the audience more relatable to to why we all need to embrace LMS, right? So so what I will do now is that I'll move on to the next question. And Titi, why should other sector consider using learning management system? Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. Why should other sector consider using learning management system? Training and development is an important department in all organizations, irrespective of its size. Training your employee means better performance, which will lead to better profits. So the reason why other sectors need a learning management system, first of all, one, content in one place. It means you will store all your content in one place, reducing the risk of losing important data, and even making organizing it a very, very easy task for you. Two, easy access to the material. It means you have your material which has been stored in one place. Anybody, no matter what size of employees you have, they'll still come and meet the material. The new one, the old staff, everybody comes to see the material and still able to go through what your values are about or how to sell your product. The third one will be easy to track the learning process and learners' development. The learning management system gives you the ability to track the process of the learners. That means your staff. Let's take, for instance, a banking industry right now. You have so many units there, many units in terms of departments. You have the customer care service units, you have the cashier units, you have the I think the marketing units. You have a lot of units there. So every time you're employing new people, you keep training them. But with this learning management system, no matter which location or region your staffs are, there's all possibility that you have your content in one place, which everybody would have their unique login to access and train. The fourth one will be reducing the cost of training. So at this particular point, we're talking about the learning management system providing a lot of mobility to attend lectures, since the actual presence of the teachers and learner can be bypassed at the same time. So it means I can be in Abuja right now. My company, I take a bank, for instance, right now as my company. Trainings can be going up for a particular unit in all regions in all regions. I think, for instance, marketing departments, now we have a training to attend to. I don't need to travel from Abuja to come to Lagos, being the main, the head office. I can sit comfortably at my own location and still get the training. And at the same time, it's going to reduce the company's cost of logistics and every other thing being needed. So I can be anywhere and still get the training I need to do. Then this also reduces the duration of learning. The learner may have acquired skills or knowledge close to what you are trying to give them before. But with this learning management system, it allows them have direct access to the lesson, which they have not gained before or if they have the knowledge previously. This will give them much more time to be able to know. It will give them much more. If they have the experience previously, with the new training right now, it will enhance their productivity. With your learning management system, it will give you easy access to update your materials. So right now, like what Mr. Mohammed previously showed us on the demo section, you can go to that to the portal and add contents to it with ease without having to sort around for what is not being needed. Then easy integration of social learning experience. From your learning management system, you have access of adding your Facebook, all your social media, and also the performance of what your staff are doing or the content in which you're pushing out to your staff. So in conclusion, the benefit of a learning management system in other section is far, far much more than what people think it is. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Titi. So we're moving now to another question. But wait, there is a question that I would like you to field before you answer this question. which is beyond the certification or issuance of certificates. Can the school prepare its terminal results on the learning management platform? And then you can then go ahead and answer this question. What are the important aspects of a learning management system implementation? Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed, once again. So yes, it's very possible that you can be able to issue out your terminal certificate to your students. The management system has the ability to do the grading, the assessment of your student performance. So you don't necessarily need to be doing all this offline. So what you have to do is that everything is on the system, the grading is there, so you have to be able to grade. At the end of the day, you had the performance of the student, and from there you'll be able to issue the certificate online. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bowe, for that. So I will be moving on just to support what Bowe have just talked about. Yes, it is possible to do your entire school assessment on the LMS fully, like what Bowe mentioned. You could do different forms of assessment. You could do the offline assessment, which means that you can give an offline assignment, and then the student would probably then upload that information back on the LMS. You could do quizzes, you could do a whole lot of assessment methodologies. Even if you are looking at mathematics as well, you have equations, that equation symbols that you can actually use, right, within that. But you could go further as well to look at other integration as well, right? So just moving on now to TT again. What attributes can be enforced to improve the security of the learning management system? Thank you.
Thank you, Mo, for this question. First of all, the attributes that can be enforced to improve the security of a learning management system. The first thing is you have access to run an internet protocol blocker. The admin is being given access to manually add certain IP to be allowed or to be blocked on the list. This ensures that not all IP can be able to access the learning management system portal itself. So it will yank off some and it will permit some. There are limits to what you can access on it. Then the second one is advanced password authentication. We all know what it means to log in into any portal. You have to have a username and also to have a password. But on this particular advanced password authentication, it goes beyond your username and your password itself. It means there's another access code you would need to use to authentify that you are the right person to log in into it. The third one is anti-spam. This does not allow you, as in the user of the LMS, be it the teacher or the instructor, any of the instructor, the students, or whoever it is. There's a limit to the mail you would get on your Gmail. Normally, you can get a spam mail that has malware in it, that has virus in it, or anything that can really make people spoon into your email address. But on this particular one, you are limited to what you would receive because of the security features on the learning management system. This will prevent any spam message coming into it. It won't even allow a spam message to come in. So you're safe on that end. Then at the same time, the fourth one is going to be your domain-based registration. Coming on to the learning management system, online learners are only able to register for the learning management system through domain specified by the admin. It is the admin that admits you and is also the admin that can yank you off. So if the domain you're trying to sign in is not being recognized by the admin, you can't log in. So it's so secure to the extent that no matter how techy you think you want to be, without the admin's approval, you can't log in. Then also there's a backup data that has all your information. If your system was to have issues, maybe your system or your hard disks end up getting damaged one way or the other. This system, the learning management system portal, is so unique that it's a cloud-based system itself. So everything you have there, your content are being saved in a safe place. So no matter what, be it your system, be it your mobile, if you're having problem with it, every information you have previously saved is still there. The fifth one, you have limited access to data center. The students, aside from the admin too, the students have limited access to the data. It is only the admin that has the real view of everything, that has the full view of the portal. So without that, nothing, without the admin admitting whoever wants to rip into or crack into the system, you can't get in. So the admin already has secured, there are secured features for the admin to use that will make the learning management system secured. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Titi, for that. At this juncture as well, I would go into one of the Q&As that have been asked. How can your presentation take care of students who have economic issues to buy adequate data to follow up lectures using this application? Well, I think to respond to that, number one, you got to look at how heavy the application is on the consumption of data, right? So how what do I call it? How easy it is how easy it is for your data that you are consuming, right, to reduce the data you are consuming. So the application must be built in a lean manner so that it doesn't consume much data. Because if you look at what you do on the LMS, probably you are chatting, right? You are responding to an assignment, you are taking quizzes. All those would not necessarily consume your data because they are text-based, right? You know, when you ask a question, how many colors are in this flag, right? It's just a text question. You just select 3 as an example, or 4. In that case, your data is minimized. That's number one, right? Number two is that you got to look at as well. You got to look at you know, the incentives that are out there. It's like, for example, some schools, or if it's a government schools, they might have some programs that are running from a data perspective. I know that some of the service providers are also looking at how to address the question of how to provide data to people that are a bit will not be able to afford it from that perspective. So again, your school might also have Wi-Fi. So if you are in your school environment, they might have some hotspots or some Wi-Fi that you can connect with. So you as a student, you probably go to employ various methodology in terms of making sure that you are able to access data. But once you have data, one of the issues as well is that you might start using your data for other things, right? Which might consume it, like Facebook and all that kind of stuff. So the advice there is that if you are a student, you should use your data sort of carefully and wisely. It should last you for as long as possible. Thank you. So moving on now to Godia to answer this question, which is how can a vocational academy maximize the use of LMS, learning management system? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mohammed. Just like the conventional classroom, the learning management system helps the Vocational Training Institute to save costs when it comes to conducting training. Now, whether this institution, the vocational institution, is owned by the government or private individuals, certain things have to be in place, like a well-equipped space, you know, the place where the training is going to take place, and the equipment used for the training, and the employees that would help the trainer during the training. And all these things cost money. But with the use of the LMS, all this is cut down because everything is just there on the platform. Now, also with the use of the LMS, that's the Learning Management System for Vocational Training, distance is not a barrier. An example is sometime last year when I saw an advert on Instagram about a catering academy that I wanted to attend. Now, it was in Lagos and I'm here in Abuja. I could not attend because of the distance. I couldn't go to Lagos just for that training. Now, if it was done on LMS, it would have just been easy. All I had to do was just to log in or register as a student and then take my training there. Now, also the instructor can have a one-on-one training with the trainees, one-on-one, give the trainees one-on-one instruction, and you can share pictures, you can share text, you can share videos of the training also, and also have virtual meetings with the trainees. Now, apart from that, the trainees themselves can network within themselves, they can interact. The LMS has that feature. They can interact among themselves and share methods that would help them be better. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much, Godia, for that. This is all time can permit for now. We thank you all for attending this webinar. We hope that you have derived some value. Please, if you want to get access to the recording, go to our Facebook page or our LinkedIn page to access the webinar recordings. If you have any questions, please chat to us. You have our email addresses on display, or you can go to our Facebook page or LinkedIn page to reach out to us. Please, let's continue to engage. Let's continue to stay safe. We're very humble that you have graced us with your time. We say thank you to you and have a good day for that. Thank you.